It's time for JSU Today, a program featuring some of the exciting people, places, and events at Jacksonville State University. With your host, Mike Hathcock.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to JSU Today, a weekly program about Jacksonville State University. Coming up today, I'll be talking to Dr. Mark Fagan, the Department Head Emeritus for Sociology and Social Work at JSU. Fagan will be talking about two new books he has written, Coastal Alabama Retirement Guide and Coastal Alabama Economic History. Dr. Fagan has been studying retirement areas for 35 years and lives in Fairhope, Alabama. It's all coming up next on this week's edition of JSU Today, a weekly program all about Jacksonville State University. Today, our special guest is Dr. Mark Fagan, who retired from JSU back in 2012. But I don't think he has ever retired because he seems like he's working all the time. Mark, thanks for being on the show. It's good to see you.
Thank you, Mike. I just want to start out by saying how sad I've been since March about the tornado damage to the campus. Just sad for the students, the faculty, staff, and the people in Jacksonville.
Right.
Because I lived here 37 years. It was my home, and spent a lot of time in and around all these buildings and the east side of Jacksonville. So, but I am so energized about seeing the progress that I saw this morning with all the rooftops being repaired, the new construction, the rebuilding. And just like the leaders in the past had to work to get this place established, such as Dr. Cole, Dr. Stone, Dr. Montgomery, Dr. McGee, Dr. Meehan. So are the new leaders, Drs. Beeler and Turner.
Right. It's amazing how much progress we've made since March 19th. It really is.
I'm excited about that, and it's a new chapter for Jacksonville State University. And it reminds me of things that have happened on the coast, since we're going to be talking about coastal Alabama some today, which is where I've been living the last 6 years. Through the years, there have been hurricanes that have destroyed property.
Right.
But in many cases, things have returned bigger, better, stronger. And a lot of the redevelopment, for instance, in Gulf Shores, Alabama, in Orange Beach in 1979, Hurricane Frederick was very damaging. Following that, a lot of people sold property, and new developers came in, and then you had the growth of the high-rises, the accommodation industry, the restaurant, tourism industry, and so it's continued until today even. So that is a model, and so everybody can look forward to a new and better, stronger Jacksonville State University.
That's exactly what Dr. Beeler says, too. It's going to be bigger and better when it's redone. And, you know, we had 6,000 volunteers 2 weeks after that tornado hit. We had people from the University of Alabama, the facilities crew, Auburn, Belmont University has helped. I mean, we've got people coming from everywhere to try to help JSU get back on its feet. And that's encouraging.
It's extremely encouraging. And just like it had to be built initially, and a lot of the politicians like Pete Matthews, Hugh Merrill, the people at these buildings that are damaged were named after, so too will we need the current politicians, and we'll find out who our real friends are in adversity. But the fact that the leadership here is responding to the adversity is very encouraging, and I just wanted to say that up front.
Let's talk about your new books with an S, because there's two books. And this is your five now?
This is number 5, that's correct. 4 and 5. And I've been researching retirees and retirement areas 35 years, basically. And I've been visiting coastal Alabama for 50 years and have always liked it. Wanted to settle down there. I won't say retire, but so we've done that. And I spent time, and I've known for years after I finished the book on the golf trail, that I wanted to do something about retiring in coastal Alabama. And I'm calling it Baldwin County and Mobile County. And so there's a picture on this one of the satellite of the two counties with Mobile Bay and the Delta,
Right.
and with a view of the eastern shore of Mobile Bay. And so I knew I was going to write that one. When you start looking at what retirees are looking for, you're looking at things like climate, health care, money matters, cost of living, real estate, recreational attractions, outdoor recreation, cultural attractions. And so in addition to that, I started looking at the history of Mobile County and Baldwin County, because I really felt like that was important to fully understand an area. I needed to understand the history. So I kept getting into the history more and more, and I came up with too much stuff about history on that area for a retirement guide.
Right.
But I thought the information was too good. It was compiled, and I had all these vintage photos from University of South Alabama archives, Alabama Department of Archives and History, Museum of Mobile,
Right.
etc. And so they all granted permission for me to use those photos to pull together for that book. So I ended up with one that's geared, it's a hardback, geared more for a little more educational, a little more academic, talks about how the area developed through the years, and one that's more current with what to do now and helps you answer the question is, would I find fulfillment during my retirement years in coastal Alabama?
What got you into this? I mean, what made you want to do all the research that you've done about retirees?
Of course, I worked in the Department of Sociology and Social Work.
And you were the department head there.
Department head, 32 years over there.
Right.
And had always been interested in economic development, because all the way back to my undergraduate minor in economics. And through my work on the Golf Trail and cleaner forms of economic development besides manufacturing and other areas, we were more looking at tourism and how tourists and retirees bring money to an area.
Right.
So I just got interested in where these retirees were coming from, where were they going, what kind of assets do they bring with them, what impact does that have on an area when they come, how do retirement communities develop, and we just actually made a career out of retirement, basically studying retirement, Mike.
And I know you had like 111 publications.
Yeah, we've done all sorts of reports, academic reports, short articles, brochures, books, booklets, all that kind of stuff. And so I enjoy writing. Right. And but I enjoy writing about what I want to write about now. Right. I've written my share of accreditation documents and those things. So so now I'm more in. But what I do is document things. I like to write about it, and then I like to show a picture. Right. It's the way I taught when I was teaching. I like to show slides and that kind of thing.
I know you were a consultant to the retirement systems of Alabama, and you've been all over television, CBS, NBC, CNN, ABC. When somebody needs a expert in retirement in the southeastern United States, they call you. Well,
it's been amazing the publicity we were able to generate right here from Jacksonville State University, and a lot of it coming right out of Merrill Hall. And that led to work on the Golf Trail, working with Dr. Bronner, and the RSA has played a big role in developing Alabama, and especially coastal Alabama. And I talk about that in the history book, especially the last 25 years, the modern redevelopment of downtown Mobile. A lot of that has come from RSA's efforts, and they built a 54-hole golf course down there in 1992, and then they bought 2 older hotels, totally refurbished those, added to them, built a new office tower, bought 3 more office buildings, refurbished those into office space, and so and then they've been promoting the area, and they've had a big hand in redeveloping downtown Mobile. And of course, they've had property on the eastern shore of Mobile Bay, which is around Point Clear and Fairhope. The Grand Hotel they purchased in 1999 and have expanded and grown it, and just finished a new $35 million enhancement.
Right.
So they have really promoted the area for tourism.
On the night of March 19th at approximately 8:30 p.m., an EF3 tornado hit the campus of Jacksonville State University, causing extensive damage. Winds reaching 150 miles per hour caused damage to 23 buildings, including Merrill Hall, which was destroyed. 50 other buildings, including the landmark Houston Cole Library, were damaged or impacted. If you would like to help with the JSU recovery effort, you can go to jsu.edu/JSUstrong.
Today, a program produced by the Television Services Department here at Jacksonville State University. Here is more of my interview with Dr. Mark Fagan. Let's talk about Gulf Shores and Orange Beach. Of course, the state is in the process of rebuilding there at Gulf Shores, where a hurricane destroyed the convention center and hotel complex that was there. That's going to be big for the state of Alabama, I'm sure.
It really looks good, and they've developed walking trails with boardwalks, and my wife and I were by there thinking, we want to stay there. There's an overpass now that takes you right over the main beach road, and you can get in there and hike and walk around the lakes now.
Right.
So, but yeah, that state park's been very important to that area since the 30s, and some of the land barons in the 30s had thousands of acres each. A guy named Meyer and a guy named Petit were two of the main ones, and so they ended up donating property for the state park, transferring property to the U.S. government for a Bon Secours wildlife refuge.
Right.
And so you have those preserved areas as part of coastal Alabama and the southern part of the county. But in the 30s, having swampland and without air conditioning down there, and you have to understand the roads were so bad. Going from Foley south, there were sand roads, wooden bridges with logs out in the road. Of course, the cars weren't all that good, so access to the island was primarily by water, through from Mobile Bay around, outside into the Gulf, and through Perdido Bay. And so Fort Morgan, which is down there at the mouth of Mobile Bay, and Bear Point, which is over going out into Perdido Bay, were the main development areas until the Intracoastal Waterway was built in the 30s, and they built a bridge, and that's what turned it into an island. So,
well, that is some of the best, beautiful coastal area that I know of, that state park there. And there's probably, they could make millions and millions of dollars with that property if they wanted to develop. But it's important that we keep some of that stuff pristine. You don't need 20 skyscrapers, on that property.
Yeah, Orange Beach has a lot of condos,
Right.
And the state park has a lot of wetlands,
Right.
And a lot of, like as you say, green space, and they have 3 big freshwater lakes. Hiking trails are in there now, so it's very bike trails. A lot of people are taking advantage of that. Of course, Fort Morgan has the history of its old fort and the Civil War, the role it played during the Civil War,
Sure.
guarding the bay. And Mobile was a very popular, getting to be a more popular port by the time Civil War came around. And the Union forces wanted to take control of Mobile. And Fort Morgan and the Fort Gaines over on Dolphin Island were sitting out there to protect. And so you had blockade runners, but then you had Farragut finally led a charge up the bay, and of course the famous saying, "Damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead," until they were able to get past and get in there, and they took Fort Morgan, and they eventually took Mobile.
Right.
And
A lot of history down there.
it's amazing. If you really are interested in Alabama history, you really need to go and study the Mobile, for instance, the Delta, the Mobile-Tensaw Delta. It's this it's the drainage area for northwest Georgia, a lot of southern Tennessee, most all of Alabama, and eastern Mississippi. Millions and millions of gallons of water are coming into that bay from the rivers.
Right.
And it's out there. It's called America's Amazon. It's changed very little through the years because there are no roads out there. And the wildlife out there, there are 250 different types of wildlife, and the flora and the fauna are just unbelievable. The Native Americans were big in those areas, and there are actually mounds that are comparable to the Mayan ruins. There are mound complexes out there that you can only get in to see in February. So, but it's just beautiful and pristine into that area. Because Mobile Bay was really once just a river valley. Mm-hmm. The Gulf was several hundred miles further south, and they've discovered cypress forests there to document that. And as the waters increased from the Gulf and more water poured into the Bay Area from all the rivers, that river valley and the Mobile River was the main channel. Well, that's now called the shipping channel. Right. And through the years, that's had to be dredged and widened to allow more shipping in and out of Mobile. And you know, the more shipping there's been, the more downtown Mobile has flourished. But a lot of what I talk about in the Coastal Alabama Economic History book is the Bay, the Gulf, the other bays and the rivers, and how the importance of Mobile, the Port of Mobile, and the ship channel, and how that led to shipping and all that was going on within the state of Alabama. But most of the Alabama history, the French, Spanish, and the British all came up from Mobile through the river system.
Are we attracting a lot of folks to coastal Alabama, retirees?
Baldwin County is the #1 tourism destination in the state of Alabama. And when I'm talking about the amount of money spent. Right. And so then you add Mobile into that, and Mobile and Baldwin counties have a lot of visitors. Mobile, thanks to RSA's investment in the hotels over there and the tie to the convention center and the the cruise ship terminal that they financed, has really helped promote tourism in Mobile, and now you have more conventions and meetings that you normally couldn't have competed for. But eastern shore of Mobile Bay, talking about down around Bon Secours, the French, the Bienville brothers, who helped found Mobile and New Orleans, established the first fishing lodge in Baldwin County down at Bon Secours in 1702. From then on, tourism has been a presence on the eastern shore. Back in the early 1800s, malaria, yellow fever, water was not so clean, air wasn't so fresh. People would travel by steamboat from New Orleans, Mobile, over to the eastern shore. So where the Grand Hotel is now, there's been some lodging since 1820. And of course, through the years, hurricanes, fires, whatever, and so we're into the third version of the Grand Hotel now. Right. But the fresher water, the fresher air, there's a bay effect over there. And before they had air conditioning, the bay breezes in the summer and the fresher water over there. And most all these little areas that have sprung up, Daphne and Montrose and Red Cliffs there. Right. And then on into the agricultural areas in Baldwin County, Foley and Silver Hill and those places. It's interesting, a lot of them have European immigrants that gathered together and formed those areas, like Italians tended to gather around Daphne. Right. And we could go through all of them. So people have been migrating, coming there for years. Fairhope has that very interesting history of.
You live in Fairhope.
I love and live in Fairhope.
You could have moved anywhere you wanted after you retired. Why did you choose Fairhope, Alabama?
I'm an Alabama boy, #1, and #2. We had spent so much time visiting down there, and like everybody, or most people, people retire where they have tended to vacation. That's why retirement areas evolved from tourism areas, or a tourism area evolves into a retirement area. So we looked all over Orange Beach and Gulf Shores area, and it was it's quite nice, but it was a little more transient.
Right.
Didn't have as much of a community feel. And so we got to Fairhope, and it's quaint, and it's just a lot of nice people, a lot of interesting history. One reason it has such an interesting history is the role it played during the 1800s with the bay boats that were out there running on Mobile Bay. Before we had cars and roads, you couldn't get from Mobile to Baldwin County. It was hours and probably days. It was days going around that delta north to get, and so they had these bay boats. Well, they couldn't get the bay boats real close to the shore because Mobile Bay is not all that deep.
Right.
And Fairhope had the closest area to what they call the 12-foot curve, and that's why the big pier's in Fairhope. So the bay boats would come there, the agricultural products would come, get shipped to Mobile, shipped out, and then all the goods that the people in Baldwin County need, they could get shipped from Mobile over to Fairhope. Yeah. So long history there. It has unique in the state that it has the single tax colony, which is, I won't go into the details, but it's a very interesting idea.
Right. Let's talk about where they can get the books, Tim,
okay,
where they're available.
All right. These books are available through Amazon, or actually we may get, maybe Keith can put up Book Baby. There are a couple of websites. These actually have their own website, and it's a little easier to get them from there. But they're just starting to roll out. They're going to be in gift shops and bookstores. So
what's a good website?
Well, if they go to, I tell you what, the easiest thing, go Facebook Books by Mark Fagan.
Okay.
That tells them everything they need to know.
Right.
And even if you're not on Facebook, just go to Books by Mark Fagan. I'll let you on there. This book will be good for people planning their summer vacations or snowbirds or whatever.
Right.
And it saves you from having to go pick up 100 brochures. Just all the information you need, plan your trip, and while you're down there, might be things you've never seen. You can go do that. And if you're, and also, this one would be helpful if you just want to learn, spend some more time, go visit some museums, go and see some of the historical attractions. And here again, it's just my story about living there and what I found about the area, and
I think it's great.
I'm excited about them.
Yeah. Well, congratulations. I mean, it's always nice to be able to find out the history of where you're going, because it's impossible to find it once you get there.
I know Harvey Jackson and
another JSU
Dean Wade and some
graduate,
of those people would be very proud that I have developed such a passion.
Books, the Robert
Trent
Jones
on there,
is
and
on
some
there.
of the other stuff we had done through at Jacksonville State.
Well, thanks for dropping in.
Good to see you, Mike.
Congratulations.
Thank
we
you,
appreciate
Mike.
it very much.
Thank you very much.